little boys, we'd go and work with Daddy in the garage. He had this big tool shed. It was his man cave, and he was always building stuff, making things work. So this is sort of how I was raised, is always trying to find ways to make things work. And when I left the dairy farm when I was 18 in 1977, I really liked the idea of just leaving the farm and go to the city and go be a businessman. What I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to go into business to be able to make things. So my first job was working as a welder for General Motors. And General Motors loved dairy farm boys because you wouldn't bitch and you worked your butt off. And so I moved up quite quickly there and moved in different parts of the shop, and we built heavy-duty trucks and military trucks in Pontiac, Michigan. And I really liked it. What I liked most about it, though, is to be able to start with something that back then was on a piece of paper. It was called a 2D design. And the designers worked over here in this part of the organization, and the prototypers worked over in this part of the organization. The manufacturing guys worked over here. And everybody was pointing fingers and griping at each other because it wasn't done right. It wasn't designed for manufacturability. So that was lesson number one. Lesson number two is when I was working on the line, my couple of weeks on the job, I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm making like $6.44 an hour, which is big money back then. And I'm welding away, and all of a sudden this guy comes along with his bifocals, and he has a clipboard, and he says, "Young man," and I said, "Hold on," and I'm welding away, and I was so excited because I was a naive country boy. Come on, I was working on the job welding trucks. And he says, "You're working too fast. You're going to take someone's job away." And I'm like, "What?" Because, being on a dairy farm, you don't get paid to do anything. You got a roof over your head, just work, get to work. So that was my second lesson, is that I wanted to be able to work with people, because I realized at that point, there's some people don't believe in doing what it takes to get something done. So I moved up in the corporate world to work for General Motors for many years, helped to start the Saturn plant. That was a long time ago in Tennessee. And was also when I was recruited out of there to work for PepsiCo Manufacturing with new product development and making potato chips, corn chips, and pretzels. And that was tasty in the morning when they first come off the line. So I had the automotive experience and then worked there in new product development, loved it. There was a great training program. And then I was recruited out of there. People would leave an organization, take me with them, and then I went to Clorox Company. Clorox out of Oakland, California. And there what we did is we made oatmeal cookies with insecticide in it for ants and roaches, and that was for the product called Combat. So you put those little plastic trays in the corners of your house, and they crawl in there, and they're all excited about this cookie, but they take it back home, and all of a sudden they all die, okay? The roaches and ants and stuff, but we had the cleanest plant in Jackson, Mississippi, though. No insects. So I was in the corporate world for many years. I really, really liked it because it's always about making new products and helping people with these new products. But there was something inside me that was missing. When you go through life, you probably get through a part of your life, especially like when you get up in your 50s, some of you are not there yet, you start wondering, am I really doing what I value most in life? And I really liked working for the corporate world, but there was something that was missing, and that was being closer to people, helping people help themselves. That's what gives me joy. My father raised his boys that way, to go help the neighbors out, and that's what was missing in my career. I was making really good money and moving forward in the career, but that was missing. So I moved out here to Colorado, yay, in 1992, and loved it ever since. But I've been in the product development business, specifically prototyping. What inspired me most about prototyping is to be able to, back in the day in CNC machining, especially with the big three, everybody had their job, they had unions and all that type of stuff. And all of a sudden a machine comes out that you can actually, what I'll call, grow apart. Now that was different, okay? Because us CNC machinists, we know how to do that stuff, and how could you grow apart with a laser? But back in 1987, I remember that was the first 3D printer machine that came out. People think these days, 3D printing's brand new. It's like, come on. It's been out there for a long time. And of course, back then, the machine we bought was $348,000. Now you can get one for probably $348. But the quality's not there. So anyways, I got into the prototyping industry in the early 90s, and I think that's when I probably met you, Bonnie. And you were like 22 or 23 years old, I think? Yeah. So So was I. And, it was very magical because companies like Storage Tech, Valley Lab, those type of companies were out there. And I don't know if you've done work for them or not, or other people here, but that was the heyday with prototyping. We were just rocking it, making prototype parts. Just send STL files over, grow the parts, and there you go, you've got parts, and then you ship it out. Next job. And with the CNC machining or other types of fabrication services that required more technical expertise. So I've grown very fond of prototyping, but what I'm going to talk about tonight is beyond what prototyping is. I'm going to share some stories, if that's okay, of people like yourselves that have tried something out and hit a roadblock. I won't give you the names of the people, but situations so you can kind of feel what's happening. You'll go aha right away. You'll get why these people are hitting roadblocks. Okay? Because we do face them. We're human. We're a human being. So I'm going to start this talk. This is not a sermon. I'm going to start this talk with the power of the inventor's prototype. To me, the prototype, I think, is everything when it comes to inventing. It really, really is. The other thing I want to share with you is a three-pronged inventor's success formula. And the reason I created this three-pronged success formula is all those years of almost 30 years now of experiencing people trying to take a product idea forward. So I want to get to know you as the participants here first. And these are questions I ask at any presentation I give, so it gives me an idea to gauge and where you're at with your ideas. So the first question is, how many of you have had or now have a great idea that you'd like to take action on? Okay, almost all of you. How many of you have actually taken action on your idea?
Before?
How many of you have actually taken action on your idea? Okay. How many of you have faced challenges along the way and maybe even ran into a roadblock? Usually everybody. All right, how many would like to take action, not sure exactly where to start or how to proceed where you're at? Of course. Okay, and the last one. How many of you started to feel stuck, like you're stuck in the muck and you're not sure how to get moving through it? Okay. So we all have had our hand exercises. Now you can relax your hands, okay? Because all raised our hands here. That's usually what happens. All of us are raising our hands. Jim, you know every presentation we've been at, we ask these questions, and the majority of everybody has an idea, number one. The last one, almost everybody's hit a roadblock along the way. So we're going to talk about that. I already shared my background, but why I'm passionate about working with individual inventors is this. Working with big corporations, everything's given to you. It's pretty much entitlement based, okay? You go in and do your job, you have your little cubicle, and that's it. But what was missing is, as I was helping corporations, all of a sudden inventors started showing up. Now a corporation basically sends me engineering files, IGES files, STL files, PDF files, and says, give me a quote. I give them the quote, make the part, and they give me a purchase order to make the part. This is bada bing. That's how it works. Especially on Friday afternoons when the engineers like to go snowboarding up in the mountains. They dump it on me and say, here it is. And all of a sudden, oh, wait, I have some questions. How do I make this part? So, anyways, when inventors come in, I have to put it this way. You have to handhold inventors. You really do. Why? Because they've never been down this path before. So, when you look at your values as a human being, as a business person, and you realize that what really ignites your passion, your fire, is helping others help themselves. That's me, that's what I like to do, and this is why I'm standing here today. And also why I'm writing a book, and it's going to be published soon, is just because I think it's important to help idea innovators get out of their own way first. And you understand what that means. Many times we always think it's somebody else, we always think it's something else, but it's truly up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me as an individual, as an inventor, to get out of my own way first. So I'll be talking more about that, but I'm going to share a story with you right now. So I feel like I have to stand really close. Is this okay? Can you hear me all right? Yeah. Okay. So many inventors are really excited about their idea, but when you have to wait 18 months for your patent, something's wrong. The patent office is not entrepreneurial, okay? We're entrepreneurial. You asked me to make parts, or I'm going to get that quote to you right away and make those parts. So there's certain things that you face as an inventor that not everything can go your way. It doesn't go with your timing, your expected timing. You're on demand. Everything these days is on demand, on demand. In fact, I have a couple companies, product on demand and parts on demand. Why did I call it that? Because that's what you want. So this is the reason I called the company that. So the first person that came to us, not the first person, but one person when I met Bonnie back in the early 1900s, 1992 I should say, I'll be clear about that, is there was a guy that came to us and he had an invention that was really cool. This invention was electronics. Now, I'm a little concerned about an inventor coming with electronics because usually they don't understand how much detail is required to make that. I have no problem making it, but do they have the budget for it? Okay. This guy was a very successful man, CEO, had lots of money, whatever, and very astute, very together, and so forth. So he came to me and says, Dennis, I heard about you guys, and I'd like you to help me make this product. What this product does is, I'm just going to take an example. Let's just pretend that this is the enclosure, okay? He had a device, he wanted to make an enclosure that would track your trip, and it's called TripTrack. And what this would do is you could punch in, stopped at McDonald's, Whole Foods, to have something to eat. Went to the gas station, and here's my mileage, and every day you just download it into your computer. And it was a great idea. We thought it was really cool. And he says, Dennis, I know what I want to do. I want you to do the design and get into manufacturing. I said, okay, we could do that, but I'd rather have your back and maybe suggest, why don't we make a prototype of that when the design's done so that you can confirm form, fit, and functionality verification first. Maybe even use that model, go out and show it to some people, maybe get some interest in that product as well. No, I know what I'm doing here. I've hired people, big organizations, I've done all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, great, then that's what you want to do. I repeated it twice, and I said, no, it's good. So anyways, we designed it, we did the concept of it first, the concept of the renderings, different renderings, so that he can choose the one he likes. And he chose the one he liked, the enclosure. Then we made a quick prototype of it, and he just said, okay, great, let's go into manufacturing. He says, oh, by the way, I have manufacturers in India. I got it taken care of. Sure, yes, I do. Okay, no problem. So bye-bye, he paid us and all that type of stuff, and then all of a sudden, 2 months later, I decided to call him up and say, so how you doing? How's things going? He says, not so good. I said, what do you mean? I said, you got a really good product. And he says, yeah, I do. And he says, I have a garage full of product, and it's collecting dust. Reason being is that he really doesn't understand sales. He hired salespeople to work for him and other companies, but he didn't have any resources available to him to sell this product. And he was leading people, but he never got out to really sell the product, so he was stuck with the product. So that product, very expensive product, is sitting in his garage, maybe sells onesie, twosies, that type of thing, but it's already become obsolete after a few years. So that one particular scenario, if I were him, I would say, don't go any further than the prototype. Make that prototype as beautiful as you can. Get it out in front of the right people that can help catapult it forward, or at least give you feedback and say, I like that medical device, or I like that, whatever the device is. Maybe you might want to do this to it, though, and that to it. When you engage with someone with that type of an answer, they already have ownership in it. Now you can go back to them and say, I did some of the things you suggested. What do you think? Now they feel like a mentor to you. So you're engaging, it's relationship building. So that's what I would have done in that scenario. The next one here, I'm going to call this guy Larry Curly or Moe, but I can't use his real name. Okay? Is this on TV as well, or what? Okay. All right, so this guy here, this next guy, this happened probably about 6-7 years ago. And he's just a regular blue-collar type of guy, and he was referred to us by a big patent firm. And he came out and he has this big, thick packet, and he says, Dennis, I just got my patent. I'm so happy. This is great. They sent me here to you so that you could give me the manufacturing costs. I said, okay, well, let me take a look at it here. So the first thing I look at, of course, is the illustrations, because I don't like reading stuff. I'd rather look at the photos or pictures, you know. They tell a lot. So I looked at the patent illustrations of this product. He says, I need to know if it's what it'll cost to manufacture. I looked at it, I looked up at it, and I said, give me a second. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is not manufactured. So I thought, well, I got to be honest with this guy. He's an inventor, and I'm here to help him help himself. So I look at it and I say, well, great idea. I had to start with a positive, right? So it's a really good idea. It's a really good concept. May I offer some suggestions? He said, yeah. I said, what? He said, well, it's really not manufacturable right now as I see it. Oh my God, Dennis. He said, I just spent over $10,000 on a patent. I only have a couple $1,000s left. I just got divorced and I have 2 young kids in school. I have nothing left. This patent is everything to me. So I started seeing tears in his eyes. He's a grown man. I saw tears welling up in his eyes, and he's trying to hide them. You know how we as men start feeling like we're going to, well, we'll say it, we have mist in our eyes. We got something stuck in our eye, right? And you're trying to hold that back. You're trying to breathe. You're trying to say something. You come out squeaking. So I just sort of said, hey, you want some water? And I knew what was going on. I go get some water, bring it over, and try to put him at ease. But the bottom line is that I said, a patent attorney is compensated to create words to protect your idea. These are patent illustrations. A manufacturer, a designer, is paid to design products for form, fit, functionality, and design for manufacturability. So in this person's situation, what I would have recommended is that maybe he would have considered going first to find out how you could make something so it's the least amount of parts. It was a combination shovel, broom, and ice scraper. Really cool idea. Heavy duty, just an awesome product. But it was the way he went about it, because he surrounded himself not with people who can help him become a better version of him. He surrounded himself with just his family who knew nothing about product development. A lot of times we do that. You're my friend, you're my brother, you're my sister, you're my uncle, whatever. We got a great idea, let's do the family thing. Well, the family thing is like a big umbrella, it's like a big cloud over this guy. And he still has his family involved. So if he could just find a way to surround himself with people who help him become a better version of himself, and people like yourself, you're sitting around here right now finding out more about inventing. You probably wouldn't find out a lot about inventing if you go to a local pub and have a shot or two with people there, but you would here, you'd find out a lot here, okay? So what happened is that we had to revise the design of Larry's design. Then he had to go back to the patent attorney and pay $4,500 more. That's almost $15,000 for his patent to get that in place. So if you could have just maybe looked at something that maybe was a provisional patent, something that's a couple $100 you do on your own through the U.S. Patent Office, or you go to a local patent attorney and maybe you spend a couple $100, $500, $1,000, whatever it is. It's an investment, it really is. But he could have maybe not spent so much money on that patent, at least to get it out to shoot and try it out and see how people respond to it. Bottom line is we made a prototype for him. He took the prototype out and made a couple modifications to it, and it's a very successful product. However, he got production going in China. He's got about 1,000 units, something like that, and he's already got some companies interested. But he doesn't know how to communicate with people out there in big organizations like Do It Best. I mean, those people will eat you alive. You got to know how to go in there and present to those people, and then have the backup, the resources to help deliver. So this is one area he's not there yet, but he's got his brother involved. His brother's never done this before. His brother has done telecommunications work in a cubicle. So you get the point with that one, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk more about the prototype here, and specifically, do you remember when we were kindergartners, 15, 20 years ago or more? And there was something when you had your summer break, you went back to school in September, and one of the things the teacher did to get you out of your shell, you're all sitting in the classroom, is a thing called show and tell. Do you remember that? Did all you used to do that? In my day we did, okay, a long time ago. And I was a very shy country boy. I didn't say anything. I sat in the back of the class and said, get me through this and I'm going to go home and go back to work. Well, this is what the teacher did to get you out of your shell, is to get up and talk about something. So on a dairy farm, what do you talk about on a dairy farm that you're proud of, okay? You better make sure you smell good and you're washed up and stuff, because it's very stinky on a dairy farm. We remember that when we'd come up with a bus and pull up to the Shavers Dairy Farm. My oldest brother's out spreading manure. Of all times, the windows are down the bus, and he's spreading manure out in the field next to it. It's like, why do you do this? So that's how we were remembered. We had lots of fertilizer in our farm. But anyways, there was one particular year, I was probably first grade, and we had corn that was probably 14 feet tall. It was a very abundant year. And they had not just 2 ears of corn, it had 3 ears of corn, and I swear they must have been 24 inches long. They were just huge ears of corn. And that's the one we put the most manure on. So I decided, Mom and Dad said, Denny, why don't you take the corn and talk about the corn? And I said, well, Dad, Mom, not everybody's going to be interested. There's a lot of city kids there. They'll laugh at me. They said, when you're proud of something, you stand up and you go up and you talk about it. So I took it in an old bag that has paper grocery bags, and I sat in the back of the class, and then all of a sudden, when they call the person in front of you, and now you're next to go up front, it's like, oh my God, I don't know if I can talk, and I don't want to fall down, and you're choked up and all that. So I walk up to the front, I set this paper bag down, and I'm shaking, and I said my name, and I said, I'm very proud this year. What we did is that we had a very abundant crop. I didn't say abundant, but a big crop of corn. We had 1,000 acres of land, and our corn has been going gangbusters. The hay's going great, everything's going great. And it was because we planned it, we prepared for it. We planted the seed, we prepared the soil, we nurtured, it was out there all summer pulling weeds, and gave us strong arms and all that blah, blah, blah stuff. And some kids were interested, and some weren't. And I felt that feeling like, well, this is kind of a weird feeling. Why isn't everybody excited? I'm excited about this. And all of a sudden, that bag falls over, New York corn falls out, and the kids are giggling like, oh, I was embarrassed, And then finally I said, and we had this big abundant crop of corn. I said, look at these ears of corn. And all the farm kids are like, whoa, and the city kids are like, da-da-da-da-da. Well, I'll tell you what, this is what it's like when you have your invention. You have a prototype. You have your idea. You're out in front of the world. Not everybody's going to like it. They're like, what? I can't use that. Who'd use that? The naysayers. If you spend your time listening to naysayers all the time, that's what's going to show up for you. You've got to surround yourselves. You've got to put yourself out there with the people who are truly excited about it. And how do you get someone excited about your idea? If I stood up and talked to her, I says, I got this great new product. And what this product does is that you put it in your shower and you can write notes on it. And, then you can erase it off. It's really cool. How do you feel about that? Okay. Now I say, I've got this prototype, and it looks like a thought, and you put it in your shower, and you can write, I love you, Mommy, I love you, Daddy, or honey, I'll see you after 6, or don't forget to take out the garbage. But this is the first prototype. I have to do a lot of work to it, but, you can touch it, you can feel it. It's the first prototype. You have to do a lot of work to it, but what does it make you feel like when you feel it? You got it in your hands, and it means something, right?
It's real.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So I'm very partial to you as an inventor getting to that prototype stage, however you can. So how do you make a prototype? I know that there's been speakers here before, Protogenics, Bob Olson and other people have talked about machining and making prototypes and that type of thing. Frankly, you can make a prototype out of wax. You can make it out of duct tape. You can make it out of baler twine. You can make it out of clay. What do you call the little squishy stuff that we did with kids? The Play-Doh. Play-Doh. Anything that just gets something that gives a shape to go to someone like a CNC machine company and say, I don't even have the design of it. This is sort of what it looks like, okay? It just gives them an idea. It gives them an idea. The closer you can get to using, this is sweat equity right here, the more you do of your own sweat equity, of researching your idea, making sure it's the right thing to do, and then making something that looks as close as possible to a prototype, the quicker an engineer can put it together, the quicker a patent attorney can help figure it out with you, the quicker a prototype company or manufacturer can also get you a quote to go into high volume manufacturing those costs as well. Okay? So here's another example here. Anybody ever seen this before? What is this called? Theragun. hurricane, that's right, yes. I think it is, yes. So this is also from years ago, and this person is in the state of Colorado, and they came to us and they said, Dennis, I'm a chiropractor. Not me, they are. And they said, I want to be able to have you guys make this thing for me. So just a sample so I can take it out and show it to people and raise money. I said, okay, great. How hard does it need to be? He says, really, really hard. I thought, okay, I can't carve it out of Play-Doh for him. I can't grow it in a prototype because it may not be rigid enough because you're really going to put some pressure on this. So what we did, you folks had a presenter here recently that talked about RTV molding, okay? What we did is we grew a 3D printed a prototype master. Then we got a box and we poured in liquid silicone as this thing is setting in there, created a mold, cut the top off, took it out, took the prototype master out. Then we poured liquid material in it so it would cure and be rigid. And we also had a rod in there as well, some metal inside here. So it made a prototype. It probably cost him about $600-700 to make about 5 of these, with the tooling, that type of thing as well. He went out and started showing these people to other chiropractors, and he started selling he gained interest with his prototype to sell a whole lot of these. So what we did is we also did a quote for him to do low and high volume manufacturing as well, so we know what the costs are. So he used a prototype as his model to get out there first, test the market, see how people respond to it or react, and then develop a plan to get it manufactured. This next one here, I met this guy. He grows plants, those plants that make you kind of wacky, I guess. Those type of plants. And very successful man, and he's also involved a lot with the local community and that type of thing. He gives a lot to the community. So he came to me and says, Dennis, I would like a device that holds plants up, but I can also twist the rod to go out, and we can use it in many different industries. And I said, that sounds great. So it was about the second week I had another meeting with him, and he said, what can you do to help me? And I said, this thing about, you want to call it a garden stake, it's really a stake that holds things up. I said, there's a trade show coming up called the National Hardware Show in Las Vegas. I said, have you thought about going to that? And he says, oh. I said, I can't get manufacturing done by then. I said, you don't need manufacturing. Really? I said, yeah. Have you ever thought about, get the design done first, start your patent process, get a basic patent, and then what we'll do is we'll make the prototypes, we'll paint them, that type of thing, take it to the trade show, let the people know this is strictly a prototype. We just got it hot off the press, and see how people respond to it. So he got a booth, he rented a booth at the trade show. He bought some plants, not the wacky plants, but plants that had vines and stuff. Set up his booth, really inexpensive. Had the prototype setting out, and people came up from all over the world saying, that is a cool product. That is a really cool product. He said, this is just a prototype. We just got hot off the press. We just 3D printed it. And of course, saying 3D printing intrigued then. And so he got a whole lot of people interested, about 120 different buyers from different areas, just by putting a prototype out in front of people. That was it. So those people came back to him and said, we'd like to see this evolve. Can we talk to you more about it and make some suggestions? So he went ahead after that first phase, after the trade show, and made a whole kit, Designing Gardens, a whole kit. There's a flex stake, and it has little wires and that type of thing. And this is his prototype. It's a prototype. It's not a fancy package you see on the shelf. This is a wannabe. And he sent this to the buyer, and he said, this is just a prototype. It's very, very rough, very, very raw, but I'd like you to take a look and give me some feedback. And so he sent it out to them, and he's waiting for feedback right now. But it's Do It Best as one of the potential buyers, and they love the concept. It was all based on just putting together a prototype. Low cost, but the magic is in having something in your hands that you can put in front of people to say, what do you think? It can almost give you chills when you think about it, because it's your idea going from here to a real product, to something real. Okay? All right, so let's see. There's a couple other things we did. Anybody here have dogs? Okay, most of you. Do you know the thing called a Chuck It? Okay, we did that as a prototype as well for the inventor, and that's how he made it successful as well. How about the Doggy Kong, the little squishy ball thing you shove peanut butter in? That's another thing, and we did that just out of RTV rubber material and had a red dye in it. And he took that prototype master out and got people interested in it, so that turned out really well as well. So in closing, I'm going to give you, I promised you I'd give you the three-pronged success formula. But before I do that, I want to make sure if we could hand around a sheet of paper, and anyone who wants to email me, if you could send me your email, I can get back to you and we can talk more about whatever I've talked about today. I'd be honored to help you however I can, okay? But what I'd like to say is that after spending so many years helping people help themselves, and also writing this book that this publisher is really interested in, is it's different than Shark Tank. Shark Tank is line all of you guys up, shoot all of you down but one person, and then I'll give you $100,000 on my 90% of your business. Is that not what Shark Tank is like? The TV world wants to have a new type of show for inventors. The book that we're working on, and Jim, you're aware of this, is Reinvent America, is helping people. And as I mentioned to you as well, Bonnie, that when someone's stuck in the muck, just open up the book and say, have you considered just doing this? In my chapter 4, it actually talks about doing this, okay? When you're stuck in the muck, or you don't know, you're spending all your money, what about resources? How do you find the right resources? How do you get out of your own way first? How do you prepare yourself first? How do you find the right patent attorneys? How do you make a prototype? All these things that can be in this that can help people help themselves. So that'll be in this book as well. So the three-pronged success formula is ready, aim, action. The ready is all about preparation. It's about you being first. How do you be a success? How do you be it? Because you can't have it until you be it. It's about becoming the thoughts, feelings, and actions of an inventor. It's about believing. It's about being aware of. It's all the BE words. BE, if you think about that, that's the ready portion of my formula. Ready, aim, invent. Ready, aim, action. So the ready side is the preparation side. Okay. The next one is aim. Now I was just out elk hunting the other day up in Keystone area, freezing my stuff. It was cold up there, but I can't aim that rifle with a powerful scope unless I know how to use it right. So I have to become a hunter and know how to use it right before I can actually point it somewhere. Okay? So the aim part is about positioning yourself as an inventor. Positioning yourself meaning you position yourself in a direction that paves the path for you to achieve the success you desire. That means surrounding yourself with other successful resources. And it's not just money. Everybody thinks you have to have money. You don't have to have just money when it comes to an invention. You really don't. There are other resources available. It's the network you have. It's the power of collaboration. There are people out there who have experience in these areas that are willing to mentor you. If you just ask, you have a 50-50 chance. Either they will or they won't. So it's about position yourself so that you can stay on track, set your GPS system of being and then doing, and then the last part is having. That's the action, that's the inventing side of it, because you've done all the work up front. And if you email me, I'll give you more information on this, okay? I think it's really important you understand that when you're moving forward with your invention, just like this gentleman here, I forget his name, you started back in 78 or something like that. I get it. When you go on a journey, and all of a sudden it sort of goes away for a while, and all of a sudden 6 months later someone else has invented something, and they didn't copy it from you. It's just that our minds are 8 pounds or whatever it is, and if you don't do anything about it, universal power must just say, okay, why don't you try it, or why don't you try it? And if it doesn't work with you, it's going to go to another person. These things happen. So, anyways, there was a quote by a very dear friend of mine, His name is Jim Rohn. Now, he was also a former farm boy as well. And he says something like this when it comes to preparing yourself or to become what you desire. He says, you were not born a winner. You're not born a loser. You are what you make yourself be. Okay? And then there's another one here. The one about aiming is progress has little to do with speed, but much to do with direction. When it comes to aim, progress has little to do with speed, but much to do with direction. Learn how to aim yourself. You're setting your GPS system, how you think, from this day forward. However you think about what you're capable of with your invention is where it's going to go. You set your own GPS system. It's not no one else's fault if it doesn't go anywhere. It's really up to you to choose to become in thoughts, to aim yourself in the right direction, that you're just constantly have the faith and the possibility thinking, and not just that, but get your resources together to pave the path to achieve what you desire. If the path is not there, it's like planting a seed and not having sun, not having water. And oh, by the way, when you have a great idea, you have fertile ground with this idea. It's like that's like a field. When you have fertile ground, there's going to be a lot of weeds growing. You got to keep pulling your weeds out. The weeds are your thoughts that say, I'm not good enough. Now, that subconscious thing comes up quite often. This is why I say, get out of your own way first. Look at yourself and say, am I truly capable of this new invention? Am I capable of starting it up again here and really making it happen? Am I capable of finding the best manufacturing costs I can find? Yes, I am. I'm worthy and deserving. You almost have to talk to yourself constantly. Because there's all this static that's happening out there that's saying, no, 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 no. So, I don't want to leave this talk with saying no. I want to say it's time for action for you to start taking action from this day forward. If there's ever anything I could leave you with tonight in this talk, is for you, the first 3 letters of action is what? A-C-T, act. It really is. So ready yourself, aim yourself, and take action. And anything that anyone here in this group can do to help you help yourselves. If you don't reach out, then you probably won't receive. So reach out for help, ask for assistance. Larry, I heard you talking earlier about what you're doing. I love to hear conversations like that, just loose conversations about here's where I'm at. And when you speak it, you make it real. The more you speak it, you keep it real. So that's awesome. So again, thank you everybody. I really appreciate your time. And I don't know if I went over, I was on and on, but I'm grateful. And any questions you have, feel free to reach out and ask me, okay?